Close the doors of your mind. Close the gates of your mind. Close the gates of your palace, your ba'ith, your house, your hall, your temple, your mishkan, your mikdash. The parts of your body that has the actual openings within oneself. Within your eyes, within your ears, within your mouth, within your thought process, within your 12 cranial nerves, within your 12 melanin centers, within your yod and your kaf that control what you do and what you say and how you live and how you operate in this capacity of this sentient life. And in your regal and your feet where you walk and when you go. For the bar is the lamp unto my feet and a light unto my pathway. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day that Yahuwah has given to us as another Shabath, that we may cease from our labors and our own thoughts and our own mind, in our makashbar and our yetzer, in our inner man and our inner being, and bring ourselves in subjection to Yahushua Mashiach, the son of Yahuwah himself. For today is the day that we acknowledge the one who made all of the heart of the earth, the one who commanded the children of Yasharal to keep the Shabath. That is a sign, a oath between us and him, that we are his people and he is our Elohim, the one who gives life and understanding to all creatures of the earth, and all beings in the Rakia, and all beings in the first Shamayim, all the way to the 12th Shamayim, or to the 7th Shamayim, all the way to the past the 13th Shamayim. The one who gives life and understanding to our inner man, our inner being, the one who closes the gates of Sheol and commands them to open. Yahuwah Elohim. So as we move forward in his love, we move forward in his compassion, we move forward in his judgment. Right, because his judgments are our life, for our life is a commandment that we should walk in. He said his judgments are the proclamation for our life, and we should walk in our judgments for what we get. Mishpat and our Shafat, right? So this is the book of Ecclesiastes, Qahalath, chapter 7 and verse 1. Qahalath, chapter 7, Qahalath, chapter 7 and verse 1. It says, a good name, Shem, is better than precious ointment. He says a good name is better than precious ointment. Why? Because you look at your name, look at a name. Yahuwah says, you gave your son, I gave you a name that's above every name. At the name of Yahusha, every knee gonna bow, every knee gonna barak. Of beings in the Shamayim, beings on the earth, and beings under the earth. And every tongue will confess that Yahushua Mashiach is master to the abode of Yahuwah. Wow, even the beings in the Rakia. Even the beings that have envy and jealousy for one another, even the beings that fight with one another, even the beings that do violence to each other. He said you're going to bow to Yahushua Mashiach. Why? A good name is better than precious ointment. You can oil your face up, right? You can do all these things. You can even fast, right? You can fast and anoint your head with oil. But if you return back to your own vomit, he said, what good is that? Your name is still wicked. And then you just anoint it. It's better than that ointment you put on your head. But it says, and the day of death and the day of birth, right? So we look at the day of our birth into this life when we found out how wicked this world was. We found out how this world was, and this world was ruled by Samael and Satan and all these beings here. Then you found out, and you realize, why are all these troubles happening to me as soon as I get born into this life? It's because of the inhabitants of this world. Unless you were born in a peace, tranquility type of environment, most likely you were not. And it says, in the day of death rather than the day of birth. Why? Because we look at death as a transformation. We look at death going from this life, living in this life, to living in another life. Living in another life, he say, like Shaul say, it's far better. But for me to be in the flesh is more profitable for you. Why? Because if I don't stay here, then you ain't going to know how to translate over to the sons of Elohim, right? Verse 2 says, it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. Why? Because you go to the house of mourning, there's a different type of mindset you have. There's a different type of thought process you have. It's a really type of sincere type of way, right? Because when you go to the house of feasting, you'll find a lot of hatred there. You'll find a lot of jealousy there. You'll find a lot of envy, and you'll find a lot of oxes and a lot of how you say, frying going on. And a lot of people get their heart fried too. Not only the things that they eat. But these are all a part of what? It's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. Why? Because when you're going to be fasting, you're not going to be eating. Why? And it says, for this is the end of all mankind. Because when you leave here, you ain't going to be eating no more. You ain't going to be eating none of the things that people argue over. You ain't going to be fighting over, right? Somebody plate. Oh, you got me a bigger plate than yours. Like, you ain't going to have none of that. None of this stuff you ain't going to be thinking about. Why? Because this is the end of all mankind. And the living will lay it to heart. So we're alive. He said, I'm alive too. Everybody's alive. He said, you lay it to heart. Why? Because that's the whole point. You lay it to your lave, your makashba, your thoughts, and realize you lay it to heart then. You lay it to heart. That's why you pray for an understanding heart. Why? When Yahusha died, he said, and when they heard this, they were pricked in their heart. Because they were living, and they laid it to heart. They were cut to their heart. Because that same death that he died, he said, that's the end of all mankind. He died the same death. He died a death. That's the end of all of us. And we all going to have to do the same thing. And they laid it to heart. Right? Sorrow is better than laughter. Why? Because we can laugh. He said you can laugh when it's really a time of mourning. There's no time to be laughing. Right? Sorrow is better than laughter. By sadness, right? Because people say that's not good. By sadness of face, the heart is made glad. It's made glad. The heart of the wise is the house of mourning. Now you see why. He said, why is the house of the wise the house of mourning? Right? But the heart of fools is the heart of mirth, right? They continue, the heart of fools, they continue in it. Right? Verse 5 says, it's better for a man to hear the rebuke of the wise than to hear the songs of fools. Right? So you know how many a fool is somebody who don't know anything. A fool is a person who understands and knows what not to do and still do it. He says it's better to hear the rebuke of the wise than to hear a song of a fool. You can make 1,000 songs. But if you're a fool, what good is it? Right? What good is it? But it says the heart of a wise is in the house of mourning. Why? Because it's all a part of it. Right? Going to the book of Psalms, Tasha'y, the book of Psalms, chapter 56 and verse 1. Psalms 56 and verse 1. Psalms 56 and 1. It says, be gracious to me, O my Elohim, for man tramples on me. Like we talked about when Yahusha went to the temple and he said everybody was stomping on each other. Right, when the man was supposed to go to the pool and the Malaki troubled the waters, he said, ain't nobody take me to the pool, but everybody else was rushing to it. Be gracious to me, O my Elohim, for man tramples on me. All day long, an attacker oppresses me. Why? Because it's an all-day thing. It could be your own self. It could be your own inward battles that oppress you. My enemies trample on me all day long, for many attack me proudly. Why? Because that's the only reason they're doing it. Why are they attacking you proudly? When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Why? Because it's a fearful thing when people start to do that. And they don't even, remember, these type of people don't care. It just makes you afraid. Why? Because now it puts you at a point where you can quarrel. If you really actually believe in Yahusha, you can quarrel, you can fight, you can slander, you can gossip, it can create hatred and jealousy and envy and strife. These are all behaviors that won't allow you to get in the Malkut. These are all behaviors that give place to Satan. So you should be afraid. It's like if I give myself over to it, then it's gonna give place to Satan to enter my heart and my mind, or he's gonna find a place for another Shadim to enter inside of me, because I just went from a tranquility, peaceful state to infiltration, to a state of now I'm getting to the point where they're trying to create a quarrel with you, and it leaves an opening from that transition. Those transitions leave opening. It's like going from peaceful to erratic, right? And Yahweh says, and Elohim, whose word I praise, In Elohim I trust. I shall not be afraid. Why? Because when people start to do these things, you say you should put your trust in Yahuwah. Oppression. They starting to trample on you and they starting to attack you. Why? Because of what you do. They jealous and envious of you. They don't like what you're doing. They don't like how you're elevating. They don't like how your wisdom and knowledge is elevating. You're awake. Like Yahusha said. And you're not asleep. Right? You're always watching. With your iron. He says, get what he says. In Elohim, whose word I praise, in Elohim I trust, I shall not be afraid what flesh can do to me. He said, I can't. Right, this is verse 5. All day long they injure my cause. All their thoughts are against me for evil. That's the only thing they're thinking about. What are they trying to do? Their thoughts are against you for evil. Verse 6. They stir up strife, they lurk, they watch my steps. As they waited for my life. What are people doing when they waiting for your life? What are they doing, right? So this is the book of, because this is the whole point. Because most people have never been in the forest or they never seen an animal or a being that's chasing you, right? So then you just have to picture yourself in that situation. They're waiting for your life, which is just like a panther or a bobcat or just a cat in general or a ari or a lion or a jaguar waiting and crouching in the bushes waiting for you. Right? Versus or a hunter, right? Or a trapper. But this is Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 24. Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 24. They do not say in their hearts, let us fear Yahuwah or Elohim, who gives the rain in its season. He said they don't do that. Right, we get the first rain and the latter rain. Right, notice he got two of them. The autumn rain and the spring rain. And keeps for us the weeks appointed for the harvest, right? Your iniquities have turned these away, and your sins have kept good from you. Why? When you don't get no proper rain, and you plant your seeds, and you put them in at the right time, and you do everything properly, and if Yahuwah don't send no rain, you get nothing. You get absolutely nothing. No yield, no nothing. Get what it says, verse 26. For wicked men are found among my people. That's the only reason. Wicked men and women. He said that's the reason why the rain ain't coming. Because what it says, they lurk like fowlers lying in wait. Because they want to trap you. That's why you got to trust in Yahuwah. That's why when they start to oppress and they start to do all these things, he says, and they start to attack you, he says, you got to trust in Yahuwah. Why? Because they're trying to bring, why do you think people use something from long, and they keep dragging it along for so long just to keep a connection to you so they can try to control your mind? This is called witchcraft. It's called witchcraft. Right? It's the same thing. I use a relationship from 4 years, short-term relationship, and you turn it into a 5-year gossip and slander fest. That's witchcraft. You're trying to control somebody's mind and bring them to a place that gives you power and gives you some type of control, and you feel like you're in control when you're not. Right? It's a technique. It's just like any other predatory animal. Right? It's real simple. Right? Most people never hunted before, but you gotta look. For the wicked men are found among my people. They lurk like fowlers, lying in wait. They set a trap. They catch men and women like a cage full of birds. That's the only reason they do. They want to cage you up. In that, trap you up, cage you up, take control of your mind, control what you say, what you speak, where you go, how you think, how you move, and how you understand. Control your elevation and your thought process, and don't want you to actually attain something that goes beyond, how you say, the peace that passes all understanding, the binah that passes all understanding. They don't want you to be in tranquility. They want you to be in torment in your mind based upon what they feel and how they think and what they perceive you to be. And they're going to keep doing it. Sorry to say, Yahusha had to go through it all for his own. He's sorry to say, people say it's going to go away. It ain't. Like a caged bird full of birds, their houses are full of deceit. Inside of their body, their innermost parts of themselves is full of deceit. Therefore, they have become great and rich, man. They became great and rich. They got all this stuff, right? They are rich. They getting ready to be rich, right? They have grown fat and sleek. Well, you fat, your belly over your belt. Right? They fat and sleek, 5'6", 270 pounds, right? 5'5", 270 pounds. And guess what it says? They know not bounds in deeds of evil. They don't even know how to stop. They judge not with justice the cause of the fatherless to make it prosper, and they do not defend the rights of the needy. They will never do it. The only thing they're going to defend is their own money. The rich man sitting at the rich man table, and the poor man sitting down, and he wanted to eat some crumbs from the rich man table. And guess what? And they do not defend the rights of the needy. Shall I not punish them for these things? So if Yahuwah, and you say you believe in Yahuwah and you do these things, Yahuwah in no wise clear the guilty. He's going to punish you. Real simple. Not that hard. Shall I not punish them for these things? Like I said, you get immersed in Yahushua after you done did all this. And you think, yeah, I got immersed in Yahushua and I put him on. Understand. Shall I not punish them for these things? He's going to punish you. Declares Yahuwah, and shall I not avenge myself on a nation such as this? Right? Right. So look at all that, right? Going to the book of where are we going? Yeah. Going to the book of Yeshayahu, Isaiah. The book of Isaiah. The book of Isaiah, chapter 22. Yeshayahu, chapter 22 and verse 8. Isaiah, chapter 22, verse 8. Isaiah, chapter 22, verse 8. He has taken away the covering of Yehudah. In that day you looked to the weapons of the house of the forest, and you saw that the breaches of the city of Dawid were many. You say you've seen all, you know how you have things in your life that's open. It's like, man, it's a lot of breaches around me in my life. It's like a lot of things are open up. It's like everybody has free reign to do what they want. And it says, you collected the waters of the lower pool, and you counted the houses of Jerusalem, and you broke down the houses to fortify the wall. You made a reservoir between the two walls for the water of the old pool, but you did not look to him who did it, or see him who planned it long ago. You haven't seen it. But guess what happened? In that day, Yahuwah of hosts called for weeping and mourning. He said, that's what he called for. And behold, joy and gladness. Right? It's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. Yahuwah said, I wanted you to mourn and weep. But you all getting all happy and joyful because you're oppressing. You trapping people like caged birds in their mind and their thoughts, using witchcraft and sorcery, and you all joyful. He said, I called for mourning, but you are joy and gladness. Killing oxen and slaughtering sheep. I told you better is the dinner of herbs where love is, with a loving name, than a fatted ox where it's hatred. Eating flesh and drinking wine, just like AU children. And guess what? Guess what he said? Let us eat and drink, and tomorrow we die. Let us eat and drink, and tomorrow we die. I called for mourning. But guess what they doing? They went to feasting. Yahuwah of hosts has revealed himself in my ears. He say, which ear Yahuwah reveals himself in? Right? I like unto a wise man, he inclines his heart to the right. Surely this iniquity will not be atoned for you until you what? Until you die. Right? This is not a game. People be thinking it's a game. It's not a game. Like all these manipulation, witchcraft, sorcery, using things and manipulating people's mind, trying to get in their thought process, try to hinder their thought process elevation. This stuff's not a game. And people be thinking it's funny. It ain't funny. Because Yahuwah's like, y'all called for mourning and weeping when y'all were doing this stuff. But y'all went on ahead and started laughing and feasting. Surely this iniquity will not be atoned for until you die, says Yahuwah of hosts. But guess what? Thus says Yahuwah of hosts, come and go to this steward. To what? To this steward. To Shebanah, who is over the household, and say to him, what have you to do here, and whom have you here, that you have cut out her tomb for yourself? You who cut out a tomb on the height and carved a dwelling for yourself in the rock. Who do that today? It's some people that do that. Here. They carve out a whole thing in the rock, right? They carve out dwellings for themselves in the rock. They put tombs and stuff. Behold, Yahuwah will hurl you away violently, O you strong man, because that's the only way you're going to do it. He said, I seen you. And guess what? He will seize firm hold on you and whirl you around and around and throw you like a ball into a wide land. What he do? How you roll you around? How he going to pick up a strong man? And he sent a whirlwind after you. Right, your destruction come as a whirlwind. I'm gonna send a whirlwind, pick you up, throw your little strong behind, your big strong behind across the world. Right, hurl you in the sky. That's how strong them whirlwinds be. Then you shall die, and there you shall be there, and there shall be your glorious chariots, your shame of your master's house. People say, why Yahuwah be sending these whirlwinds after people? Because Yahuwah called for mourning. But y'all went ahead and started feasting and laughing. So Yahuwah like, I'm just going to send a whirlwind and destroy you. Because you think you somebody. The way it says, and I will thrust you from your office. Right, y'all, people think it's a game. It's not. And I will thrust you from your office, and you will be pulled down from your stations. You know, we talked about the stations of the 7 celestial circles. Right, in the 7 feasts and 7 muads and 7 celestial circles, how they travel along the 182 thrones toward the longest day and the 182 thrones toward the longest night, and they move in their stations. And guess what? In that day, I will call my servant, Elakim, the son of Hilkiah, and I will clothe him with your robe. He said, I'm going to replace you. Because for some reason, you like oppressing people, practicing witchcraft, sorcery, doing all these things to try to get people consciousness and mind, try to hinder their thought process and not allow them to abound in the work of Yahuwah within themselves, and you're trying to hinder them. You're trying to close up the gates of knowledge, and you yourself don't even enter the kingdom. And guess what happened? And I will clothe him with your robe, and I will bind your sash on him, and will commit your authority to his hand. Why? Because of what you did. Because of what you did. And guess what happened? And he shall be a father of the inhabitants of Jerusalem and in the house of Yehudah. He going to do what? He said he going to be the father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of Yehudah. Who are he talking about? He said, until a child is born, until a son is given. And the government, the Mimshala, the Mashal, he's going to be upon his shoulders, and he shall be called Wonderful. Counselor. Now, he the only counselor you need. The everlasting Father. He say Abba, the Prince, the Nasi, the Nagid, the Sar of peace. On the increase of his government, he say fruitful and multiply. There was going to be no end. Upon the throne of Dawid, he going to sit over the house of Yehudah. And guess what? And I will place on his shoulder the key of the house of Dawid. He said, he going to do what? He said, I'm going to place on his shoulder the key to the house of Dawid. And guess what? And he shall open it, and none shall shut it. He's like, when Yahushua opened it, he's like, what you going to go behind? He said, I'm going to shut this thing because Yahushua opened it. I'm finna shut it. You know, we only got one ruler. When the one ruler open it, what you gonna be like? I'm gonna shut it. And he gonna look at you. What's your problem? You need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know what they say? And then guess what it says? And I will place on his shoulder the keys of the house of Dawood, Dawood, and he shall open that, none shall shut it. And he shall shut, and none shall open. Whatever he do, that's what he do. And guess what? And I will fasten him like a peg in a secure place. What alphabet that is? That's the 6th letter of the alphabet. Tent peg, secure, right? The what? The woo, right? You need that. You need the 6th letter of the alphabet. That's very important. How you understand Yahushua being crucified. If you don't understand the 6th letter of the alphabet, you got to get the 6. You got to at least get the 6. Yeah, 6, 6, 6, 6, right? You got to get the 6, right? You need 6. You need some tent pegs. You need the 6th letter of the alphabet. And he said, oh, that's the mark of the beast, right? No, we talking about the tent peg, the 6th letter of the alphabet. You need 4 tent pegs in order to make a tent. Like you can put it 4 corners to make a tent in the ground. Hammer it in. 6, 6, 6, 6, right? You need 6 of them, right? You need to get woo, right? You need 4 of them. Right? He says, and I will fasten him like a peg in a secure place, and he will become a throne of honor to his father's house. To his house. No, to his father's house, because he the heir who gonna take over. He's just like the trustee, or he the trustee, right? And y'all the co-trustee. Y'all just a bunch of people and then guess what? He got all the power. And guess what? I sit there, and then it's at my father's house because I inherited it. He gave it to me. All power is given unto me in Shamaim's in the earth, right? I sit there, and you all do what I say. And when I open something, it opens. When I close it, it closes. And guess what it says? And they will hang on him the whole honor of his father's house. Why do you think he said, all power is given unto me in Shamaim in earth. The offspring and issue every small vessel from the cups to the flagons. In that day, declares Yahuwah of hosts, the peg. The woo. That peg. That was fastened is in a secure place. That's what tent peg means. Will give way, and it will be cut down and fall. Why do you think they nailed Yahushua in his hand? They nailed him with tent pegs, and then they took him down from the cross and they buried him in the tomb. And guess what? And the load that was on it will be cut off. Why do you think Yahushua said, Ma'alahim, why was thou forsaken, man? When they gave him the sour wine, he gave it the Ruach. Because remember, he put all our sins on him. In Yeshua 53, he was a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He put all the load on him. And guess what? For Yahuwah has spoken. That's why he had to fulfill that. Same way Yusuf fulfilled when he nodded and said, shall I, your mother, and your brethren bow down and worship you? Shall I do that? Shall the 11 stars bow down and worship you? We should give obedience to you. The 10 stars? How is that going to happen? And when they back came and seen Yusuf in Mizraim, they bowed down and he remembered his dream. Right? It was a good dream. And he remembered. He's like, this is actually coming true. That's why I say if a Nabi have a dream, let him tell a dream. Because it may be a dream that may save people's lives. Right, so this is the book of, where are we going? Yeah, so we get out there, going to Nazarene, actually the Shalakim, apostles, advantage of knowledge. So we must above all things hasten to the knowledge of the truth, that as a light kindles thereat, we may be able to dispel the darkness of errors. Why? For ignorance, as we have just said, is a great evil. It is evil. It calls you to do evil. But because it has no substance, it is easily dispelled by those who are earnest. For ignorance is nothing else than not knowing what is good for us. Once known, then ignorance perishes. Therefore, the knowledge of the truth ought to be eagerly sought after. It has to be eagerly, right? Going to the book of Going to book of Daniel. Book of Daniel, chapter 5 and verse 11. Book of Daniel, chapter 5 and verse 10. Book of Daniel, chapter 5 and verse 10. The queen, because the words of the king and his master lords came into the banqueting hall, and the queen declared, you know how it is when you go to a banquet. You ever been to a gala? A nice white ball or a black tie ball, right? You know what it said? And declared, O king, live forever. Let not your thoughts alarm you or your color change, right? You know how it is when people change their color in their face? Who that? He said they could change their color of their face. You know what happens? There is a man in your kingdom in whom the Ruach of the Qahalath gods, right? It's the Ruach of the Qahalath gods. In the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, were found in him. And the king, Malak Nebuchadnezzar, your father, your king, your father's king, made him chief of the magicians and enchanters, right? Chaldeans and astrologers, right? So that's all the people of the cosmos. We're talking about the people in the Rakia, the beings and all the channelers and the spirit channelers, enchanters and magicians. You know, the ones that can go through walls and disappear out of thin air, fly in the sky, right? These are enchanters. They can do that. Chaldeans, right? Astrologers, they know all about the constellations and the movement cycles of the cosmos and the asteroid belts and the movements of the sun and moon and stars and the actual constellations of the black holes and the eclipses and all the different color changing of the moon. Because an excellent Ruach knowledge, that's da'ath, binah, understanding to interpret dreams, explain riddles, and solve problems were found in Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show you the interpretation. Why? Because of all these things that these behave. Remember, they only want to. The only way you're gonna go before kings and rulers and all, you have to have. You got to be chief over magicians, enchanters, Chaldeans, and astrologers. They ain't want to hear nothing you got to say. It says, because an excellent Ruach, knowledge and understanding to interpret dreams and explain riddles and solve problems were found in this Daniel. Nobody want to hear nothing you got to say. And these are all a part of the transformations that people have to take place within oneself, right? Just like we go from a 364-day cycle to 11, he say 1111. He said 182 thrones, but that equals to 22. But then you understand that the alphabet going from 1 to 22, right? Understanding the 22nd letter of the alphabet, but understanding the four corners as well. Because once you understand that, then you understand how it all fits. But then at the same time, then you can understand how everything moves and things move in the cycles, and why they put why they gave the Kukab certain names. Because it's all a part of it. Right, so this is the book of, same thing, book of Daniel. Why? Because this is all part of it. Going to Daniel chapter 6. Daniel chapter 6. Daniel chapter 6 and verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps to be throughout his whole kingdom, and over them 3 high officials, of whom Daniel was one, to whom these satraps should give an account, so that the king might not suffer no loss. He won't lose no money, right? Nobody want to lose no cash flow, no currency, right? That's why they audit the whole government. Why? Because they don't want to lose no money. It's like, okay, y'all giving money to homosexual, transvestite stuff and doing all these things. Y'all wasting money. Y'all wasting money on stuff that don't even make no sense, right? A whole bunch of things that don't make no sense. Or you just he said your budget is off. $70 million for street poles. So, right? It's crazy, right? But see, he won't suffer no loss, right? Verse 3, then Daniel became distinguished above all the other high officials and the satraps because an excellent ruach was found in him. That's how you know. When you got an excellent ruach in you, you guess what's going to happen? When you get an excellent ruach in you, you know what people are going to do to you? When they know you are, guess what? This is what happens. And the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. So he already planned it. You think Satan don't be knowing what people be planning in their heart and their mind? For you, he's like, yeah, we know he gonna get that. We know he gonna try to get that. But you know what we gonna do? We finna try to take it away. Right? You know what? This is how you know these swappers do, right? And it says, then the high officials and the satraps sought to find a ground of complaint against Daniel, right? So when you start to say all these things, you know, all these words, the bar, and you start to say things that go beyond what a normal person would say, or a high official, or anybody around you that has a title, they're gonna seek to find a complaint against you. They're gonna use something. They need something, right? Whether it's something you said, a relationship, a woman, right? Something. They're gonna need something. Some money you stole, right? They're gonna have to find something. There ain't nowhere in the world they're gonna be able to find. They gotta get you in something, right? So here you go. And it says, then the high officials and the satraps sought to find a ground of complaint against Daniel with regard to the kingdom. That's the only way. They say, we gotta find something about the kingdom that we can condemn him on, so we can talk about him. But we can't find nothing else on him. We gotta find something on the Mount Kuth, right? But they could not find no ground for complaint or any fault. That's what they're looking for. Remember, they ain't got nothing else on you, so they gotta create something. Either they gonna create something for you to get entrapped in. That's why they do all that. We talk about oppression, and they start attacking, try to get you in a quarrel and fight, try to get you to bring up something, and then they'll practice witchcraft, try to trap you like a caged bird in your head so you can't get your wings back like the eagle and ride on the wings of the wind no more. That's what they do that for. Because they that wait for Yahuwah. That's why I say you got to trust in Yahuwah. But guess what it says? Sought to find ground of complaint against Daniel with regard to the kingdom, but they could not find no ground or complaint or any fault, because he was Amunah, faithful, and no error or fault was found in him. Because ignorance is a great evil. It is, he said, dispel the darkness of errors. You must hasten to the knowledge of the truth. Why? So they can't do this to you. What do you think people are trying to do? You got the Ruach. I got an excellent Ruach. I got the Ruach of Yahuwah. What do you think people get ready to do? What are they trying to do? No, they jealous and envious of you. What do you think they're trying to do? They already know you getting ready. Oh, hold up. This person's getting ready to elevate. We got to find something on him and trap him in his head. And get what it says. Then these men said, we shall not find any ground for complaint against Daniel unless we find in it in connection with the law, the Turah of his Elohim. Then they go good. Then after they can't find nothing in the natural, they got to go to the spirit world and say, we got to find something on this dude. He has an anger problem. He has something. He has, he just rebellious. Something he did, right? They got to create something. They got to find something. Because that's the only way you're going to live. Remember, a lie only protects you. It don't protect nobody else. Right? Then these high officials and the satraps came by agreement to the king and said to him, O King Darius, live forever. All the high officials of the kingdom, the prefects and the satraps and the counselors and the governors are agreed that the king should be established in an ordinance to enforce an injunction that whoever makes a petition to any Elohim or man for 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions, right? So that's what they do. They started to create some commandments. They started creating some commandments, some commandments of men. How Yahushua came on the scene. These men teach doctrines, the commandments of men, right? This is all a part of it. This is what, he say, Yahudah can't do this. Yeah, they do. Yasharal do this today. In present day 2025 AD. They do that. They create a commandment. And guess what they do? He said, man, you should only to you. Now and then you know what they say? After they make this commandment, and then when you don't do it, they cast you to Satan, to the lions. get out of my congregation, get out of my house, right? Or wherever it may be, right? But these are all a part of it. Now a king established the injunction and signed the document. He said, I'm going to sign that thing. So that it cannot be changed, right? You can't ratify it, right? According to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked. Therefore, King Darius signed the document and injunction, and when Daniel knew that the document had been signed, right? He said, I already know y'all talking about me. I already know what y'all doing. I already know all the laws you passing. I already know what you did. And I already know the commandments that you just made up to try to set me up. He went to his house where he had windows to his upper chamber open toward Jerusalem, to go down on his knees 3 times a day and pray and give thanks before his Elohim as he had done previously. So you think you're going to change everything I'm doing? He's like, yeah, you're going to change everything I'm doing because you made a decree, right? He says, then these men came by agreement and found Daniel making petitions and plea before his Elohim. He said, what you still doing that for? He refused to change. He don't want to change. He don't want to change what he doing. He still keep doing it. He transgressing the law. O king, it said, then they came near and said before the king concerning the injunction, O king, did you not sign the injunction that anyone who makes petition to any Elohim or man within 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be cast in the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing stands fast according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked. Then they answered and said before the king, Daniel is one of the exiles of Yehuda. He pays no attention to you. He don't listen to nothing you say. Man, you're like a dead man to him. He don't even hear your words. He don't even shema. He ain't listen to nothing you say. And guess what he said? He paid no attention to you, O king, or the injunction you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day. He said, I'm still praying. Then the king, when he heard these words, was much distressed and set in his mind to deliver Daniel. He like, man, I ain't killing Daniel. I don't know what you talking about. That man, I will put this man over all the kingdom. You crazy? I'm not doing anything. I don't care what y'all say. Yeah, I'm going to give him a pardon. I'm going to give him a whole nice little pardon, and we're not doing that to Daniel. We're not going to make him lose everything and die. Right? They don't care, but they'll do that today. Why? Because if you have plans, he's like, man, hold up, we're not doing this. And he labored till the sun went down to rescue him. So he was literally defending him for the whole time until the sun went down. Not to kill Daniel, not to take him out. He did that till the sun went down. He labored. Why do you think Yahusha labored till the sun went down? They crucified him at the 3rd hour, according to the book of Mourning. And then what they do? They put him on the cross from the 3rd hour to the 6th hour to the 9th hour. And it was darkness over the land to the 6th and the 9th hour. And guess what it says? They wanted to rescue him. But the people down at the bottom said, if you be the son of Elohim, come down from the cross. We believe in you, matter of fact. If you the son of Yahuwah, save us, save you, yourself and us. Right? You know how it is. Then these men came by agreement to the king and said to the king, know, O king, that it is in our law of the Medes and the Persians that no injunction or ordinance that the king established can be changed. Then the king commanded, and Daniel was brought and cast into the den of lions. Right? He was going against all the people in the government. He says, may your Elohim, whom you serve, continually deliver you. Right? That's the whole point. He said, deliver you. And a stone was brought and laid on the mount of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his master, that nothing might be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went into his palace and spent the night fasting. He ain't eat no food. Why? Because he actually has some remorse for what's going on. When people do these things to you in this life, how many people gonna mourn for things like that? Right, because it's better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. How many people are going to do that for you? And guess what happened? It said, then the king went into the palace and spent the night fasting. No diversions were brought to him, and sleep fed for him. He had sleepless nights. You know what Shaul said? He said, man, cast off sleepless nights, right? Punished but not killed. He had sleepless nights. He literally is like in a state of mourning. Then at daybreak, the king arose and went in haste to the den of lions. And he arose at morning time, early in the morning, just like the women did early in the morning when they came to the tomb with the Malachim. As he came near to the den where Daniel was, he cried out in the tone of anguish. The king declared to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living Elohim. See what the king was realizing. He's like, you know why he fasted? He would say, why did the king Darius fast? You know why he fasted and ate no food and he sleep fed for him? Because he feared Yahuwah Elohim. He feared Yahuwah Elohim. Why? Because he understood, touch not Yahuwah's anointed, and do his Nabi no harm. None of them. He said, you weren't afraid to put your hand out to touch Yahuwah's anointed? You know what he said? Dawid said to the man who came to him? He said he sent one of the young men to execute him. But Daniel, serving the living Elohim, has Elohim, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions, from the lions? Then Daniel said, was he able to deliver you from Satan? Because you wanted me to die. He said, you want them lions to tear me apart. He said, you want them jaguars and those beings to tear me apart. You wanted Mastama and Lister. You wanted them to tear me apart. Have you been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever. My Elohim sent his Malachim and shut the lion's mouth. He said, the wicked shut their mouth. He said, they shut their mouths. And they have not harmed me. He said, they ain't harmed me not one bit. And guess what? Because I was found blameless before him. That's the only reason you get delivered from your situations. You got to get to the point where you're blameless. That's the only way. He said, because he was blameless before him and also before you, O king. He said he was blameless before Elohim and man. He was blameless before Elohim and man. He had a conscious void of offense toward Elohim, Yahuwah, and man. And as before, also before you, O king, I have done no harm. He said, I ain't do nothing to you. Then the king was exceedingly glad and commanded that Daniel be taken out of the den. So Daniel was taken out of the den, and no harm of kind was found on him, because he trusted in his Elohim. That's the whole point. You got to trust. You got to trust. And the king commanded, and those men who had maliciously accused Daniel were brought and cast into the den of lions, they and their children and their wives. You get your whole family killed. They and their children and their wives. And guess what? And before they reached the bottom of the den, because they weren't blameless, they had offenses against Elohim and the king. And before they had reached, it says, and before they had reached the bottom of the den, the lions overpowered them and broke their bones in pieces. It's like, right? And the king Darius wrote to all the peoples and nations and languages that dwell on the earth, Shalom be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in all the royal dominion, people are to tremble and fear before the Elohim of Daniel. Why? For he is the living Elohim, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed. He's like, so they said this thousands of years ago. So would you think it changed or something? Did you think people think, man, it's changed? You know, his kingdom is going to be destroyed. It's still the same. His kingdom shall never be destroyed. He said, man, the gates of Sheol ain't going to prevail against it. And his dominion shall be to the end. He delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in the Shamayim and on earth. He who has saved Daniel from his power of the lions. Right, so all that's important, right? Going to the book of, all that's important. Going to the book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 1. Joel chapter 2, verse 1. It says, blow the teruah in Saum, sound the alarm in Makudash mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahuwah is near. Because you know what happens when Yahuwah is near, when you get near to Yahusha. He said, are we blind? He said, if you were blind, you have no guilt. But being that you say you see, your guilt remains. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like blackness, there is spread upon the mountains. A great and powerful people. Man, he said his kingdom never going to be destroyed. Guess what it says? There, like has never been before, nor will again after them, through the years of all generations. Fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is like the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, and nothing escapes them. Their appearance is as the appearance of horses, and like the war horses they run. As with the rumbling of the chariots, they leap on the top of mountains, like the crackling of the flame of fire devouring stubble, like a powerful army drawn for battle. Before them, peoples are in anguish, and all faces grow pale. Why? Because this is important. Like warriors they charge, and like soldiers they scale the wall. They march each on his way, and they do not swerve from their paths. Right? He said they ain't swerving. Right? So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 3. Actually, Psalm chapter 3. Psalm chapter 3 and verse 1. Psalms 3 and 1. It says, O Yahuwah, how many are my foes? Many are rising against me. Many are saying to my soul, there is no salvation for him, O in Elohim. What do you think the men were doing to Daniel? Because he had excellent ruach inside of him. That's what people are going to do to your life. They're going to be like, ain't no salvation for you. Guess what happened? But you, O Yahuwah, are a shield about me. He said, you guard me, my kabod and my lifter of my head. I cried aloud to Yahuwah, and he answered me from his Tasha'y. I lay down and slept, and I woke up again. I woke again, and Yahuwah sustained me. He said, wake thou that sleepest and arise from the dead, and Yahusha will shine on you, right? But he said, when I woke up, he sustained me. I lay down, I went to sleep. He's like, man, I went to sleep. You know, I said, wake, O sleeper. Man, you awoke, and then you went back to sleep. Guess what he said? And I woke again. And Yahuwah sustained me. I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves all around against me all around. Why? Because that's what Daniel did. He just went on ahead and just kept doing what he always did. He said, I ain't afraid. Arise, Yahuwah, save me, O Elohim. That's what he did. That's why the king rose early in the morning, came to the tomb, and he said, Daniel, has your Elohim delivered you from the mouth of the lion? He said, O king, live forever. And Malachi came and shut their mouth. For you strike all my enemies on the cheek. Through this, your wife, your children, and you in there. And before you got to the pit, you heard the bones crack. and you break the teeth of the wicked. He said, they shut your mouth. He said, you threw me to the lions. Then he said, he made all the lions shut their mouth. That's what the Malki did. Salvation belongs to Yahuwah. He said, he that orders his steps rightly, I will show him the salvation of Yahuwah. Your Barak be on your people. He said, man, he said, all people need to fear Elohim and Daniel, for his kingdom will never be destroyed. He said, it ain't never going to be destroyed, ever. All right, this is the book of Tahalim, Psalms, chapter 18, Psalms 18 and 27. Psalms 18 and 27. For you save a humble people. Why do you think Daniel prayed 3 times a day and he got on his knees? But the haughty eyes you will bring down. Why do you think he threw them people down? His wife, the king's servants, his wives and their children, and threw them in the lion's den. He said he brought them down. For it is you who light my lamp. Who lights your near? A human being? Yahuwah, my Elohim, lightens my darkness. For by you I can run against a truth. Right? So he said, you gotta believe this. And by my Elohim, I can leap over a wall. He said, you gotta believe this. This Elohim, his way is perfect. Be therefore perfect, even as my Father in Shamaim is perfect. The word of Yahuwah proves true, and he is a shield to all those who take refuge in him. For who is Elohim but Yahuwah? And who is the rock except our Elohim? The Elohim who equipped me with strength. And what did he do? After he equipped me with Koach, with strength, he made my way blameless. Why do you think Daniel had an excellent Ruach inside of him? Because he made his way blameless. He said, Yahuwah saved me. And he said his way is perfect. And he equipped me with strength. And he made my way blameless. So that the lions had to shut their mouth. He made my feet like hinds feet made like the feet of a deer. And he set me secure on the heights. How he did that? With a wool. With a tent peg. He trains my hands to war, my yard to war, and my arms so that my arms can break a bow of bronze. You have given me the shield of your salvation, and your right hand supported me, and your gentleness made me great. And he said, why we ain't great? People say, why everybody ain't great? He talked about it. He said, correcting your opponents with gentleness, right? Right, this is the Apocalypse of Adam. Apocalypse of Adam, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1. Apocalypse of Adam, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1. Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, and verse 3. Pseudepigrapha, chapter 3. Pseudepigrapha, Apocalypse of Adam, chapter 3. Now then, my son Shabath, I will reveal to you what was revealed to me by those men whom I once saw before me, after I have completed the times of this generation, and the years of the generation have been fulfilled. And it says, rain showers of Elohim, the Almighty, will be poured forth so that he may destroy all flesh from the earth, right? Just like when Yahuwah just judges people, because of the things it seeks after. He said, because of the things you seek after, right? Because that's the whole point. He said, why? This is the book of everybody says why, because this is the whole point. It's the whole point. Right, it's Olive Sherman Wall. He said why. Let's go to Isaiah, Yeshayahu chapter 55 and 10. Actually, 55 and 1. 55 and 1. It says, "Come, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, that he may, and he who has no money, come, buy and eat." Right? You don't need no money. But it says, "Come buy milk, come buy wine and milk without money and without price." He said, you ain't need no money. It's free. "Why do you spend your money for that which is not bread, and you labor for those things that does not satisfy?" Right? Going to chapter 5, or verse 5, I'm sorry, 55 and 5, verse 5. "Behold, you shall call a nation that you do not know, and a nation that did not know you shall run to you. Because Yahuwah, your Elohim, and the Qhdsh one of Yasharal, for he has kabod you. Seek Yahuwah while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way," he said, while he is near. "And the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return to Yahuwah, that he may have compassion on him, and to our Elohim, and he will abundantly pardon." Right? Back to the Apocalypse of Adam, chapter 3, chapter 3. "Rain showers of the Elohim Almighty will be poured forth, so that he may destroy all flesh from the earth because of the things it seeks after, including those who come from the seed of men, to whom life of knowledge which went from me and Kawua, your mother, was passed on, for they were strangers to him. Afterward, great Malachim will come on high clouds to bring those men to the place where the Ruach of life dwells." And it says, From the Shamaims and earth, the whole multitude of flesh will be left behind in the waters. Then Elohim will rest from his wrath, and he will cast his power upon the waters, and he will give power to Nuach and his wife and his sons and their wives by means of the ark." And what are you going to do? "Together with their animals, whichever he pleased, and the birds of Shamaim, which he called and placed upon the earth. And Elohim will say to Nuach, now whom the nations will call Dukelian," he said, Dekelian, "Behold, I have guarded you in the ark, together with your wife and your sons and their wives and their animals, and the birds of Shamaim, which you called and placed upon the ark. For this reason I shall give the earth to you and your sons in sovereignty, and you shall rule over it, you and your sons. And from you no seed will come forth of men who will not stand in my presence in another kabod. Then they will be like the clouds of great light. Those men will come, the ones whom were sent forth from knowledge of the great Eon and the Malachim. And they will stand in the presence of Nuach and the Aeons. And Elohim will say to Nuach, why have you departed from what I told you? You have created another race in order that you might scorn my power. Right? So you look at all these things that's taking place. Then Nuach will reply, I shall bear witness before your might that is not from me, and the race of these men has come, nor the sons. Right? Skipping over. Going to chapter 4 and verse 73. It says, Then Shem, son of Nuach, will say, my seed will be pleasing before you and before your power. Put a seal on it with your strong hand in the fear and commandment, so that the seed that has come from me will not be inclined away from you, and Elohim the Almighty, and the Elohim Almighty, but they will serve in humility and fear of their knowledge. Right, so all these things take place. Right, so going to the book of Psalms. go to the book of Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 1. Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 1. My son and daughter, if you have put up securely for your neighbor and have given your pledge to the stranger, if you are snared in your words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, then do this, my son and daughter, save yourself. For you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go and hasten and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep, and your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter. Right? Because why? Just like we just talked about how they oppress and they try to trap you in like a caged bird, because they're a hunter. He said, save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter. Why? Because now they're hunting you. Like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Right, but why is he saying this? Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Why? Without having any chief or ruler or officer, she prepares her bread in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? Why? Because this is all important. Because he just said to his son Shem, he said, they're going to serve you in humility and in fear. Why? Because it says, when will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep and a little slumber and a little folding of hands and rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber. That's the whole point. He said, poverty will come upon you. Why? And want like an armed man. You know, like a thief. When the thief comes to steal from you, because the only reason people become thieves is because they are sluggards. They don't prepare. Right. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. But here we go. Verse 12. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech. That's the whole point. It's called witchcraft. And guess what? Winks with the eyes, signals with his feet, and points with his finger. That's what they do. With perverted heart devises evil. Right, because it's a plot and a scheme. Continually sowing discord. Why? Because they're going to keep you trapped in your mind like a caged bird. Because you can't fly when you caged in. You can't go nowhere. You caged in. Why? Because they treat you like an animal. You're an animal. You're an animal. You know what happens after that? Continually sowing discord. Therefore, calamity will come upon him suddenly. In a moment, he will be broken beyond healing. Why? Because he didn't repent. Why would you pray for something? He said you ain't repent. So therefore, there's no healing for you. Because that's the whole point, right? Going to the book of, right? So this is the book of James. The book of James, chapter 3 and verse 1. James chapter 3, verse 1. Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers and sisters, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness. For we all stumble in many ways. And if anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is a perfect man. You know what Daniel was? Able to bridle his whole body. If we put bits into the mouth of horses so that they may obey us, and he said, like you know how there's some lower domesticated animal. He ain't saying you a horse. We guide the whole bodies as well. He's talking about an animal, right? He's talking about an animal. You ain't no animal, right? Look at the ships also. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member. It can steer you. It can take you over your whole mind. It can take over your whole thought process. It can take over your whole consciousness. And then guess what? People can take over your mind with it. They can take over your whole mind with it. And when they take over your whole mind, they can have control of your mind in another country, another state. You can listen to it and they can have control of your whole mind. And the only thing you think and you just repeating is what they said. That's called witchcraft. It's called sorcery. It's called wizardry. It's necron. It's necromancy. It's a demon. It's a spirit. It's a shadim coming from the mouth of the person who's trying to control you with it. And they are guided by a small rudder. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. Right? Yeah, burn your whole harvest up, your whole crops, all the things in your mind that you were going to build. They will it will burn it all up, and they won't even care. They like Shamshun, that wicked Shamshun burned down the whole field. That's going to be them. They evil. Yeah, we get forgiven for all this stuff. We just gotta focus on going to the kingdom, right? You wicked Shamshun. You just like him. You just like Shamshun. And he said he gonna take that strong man who can lift all them rocks, to put you in a whirlwind and toss you up and down. Right? Guess what it says? And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body. That's why Daniel would blame it. He said, Yahuwah made my body blameless. Right? It's staining your whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life. Your whole life. I'm talking about, people think this is in the game. I'm talking about it'll alter the whole course of your whole life, just the tongue. Just like a suggestion. Or a lie. Somebody lie and then they say something and then they be pretending and then they make you do something and then they lie and they alter your whole life by they lie. And you be sitting there like, what just happened? You lied to me. And then people don't, and get what it says. Setting on fire the whole course of your life and set on fire by Sheol. Why do you think he told, when he came, Yahusha came through the Rakia, he told Yahusha not to be like those in the Sheol, in hell, the Malachite and Sheol. And guess what? For every kind of beast and bird and reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind, by Adam. But no human being can tame the tongue. So please don't be thinking you can. Don't. Now if you say, I can control what I say. You can't tame that thing. It is a restless evil. It will, I'm telling you, people say, what? It's evil. Full of deadly poison. It got reptilian poison, adder, cobra coming out. Cobra's poison coming out of your mouth. Right? It got Nakash tongue. Nakash comes out of your tongue. With it we barak Yahuwah, our Elohim, the Father, and with it we curse people who are made in the likeness of Elohim. That's what we do. That's why he said no man can tame the tongue. For the same mouth comes barak and cursings, my brothers. And says, let these things ought not to be so. Why? Because just barak. Even when people do you wrong, be blessed. Be barak. Why? Because it keeps you. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening, both fresh and salt water? Nobody gonna drink no ocean water. Go ahead and drink it and see how you feel. You ain't gonna feel that great after you drink a lot of it. It tastes disgusting. I can't even drink. I can't even let it enter my eyes. Guess what? Can a fig tree, my brothers, bear olives? He said, man, you a hybrid. He said, man, you had a fig tree stump that bearing olives. That's a hybrid. That's a true hybrid. You know how people say that's a hybrid plant. I know, this is a true hybrid. It's not supposed to be. So when you start seeing people, I get an apple tree stem, but it's birthing oranges. And you want to eat that. You know that junk be altered by Shem Jaza, Oswald, and teaching of the fallen. You know them people did that. Can a fig tree, my brothers, bear olives? It can today, with all this science. Or a grapevine produce figs? Neither can a salt pond yield fresh water. Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in meekness and wisdom, right? Right, because what's the whole point of that? He said, we're not horses. We ain't no caged bird, we ain't no animals, right? But it's just a part of this whole thing. Right, so this is the book of right, so we're going to Yeah, we're going to the book of Yashar. Book of Yashar. The book of Yashar. The book of Yashar, chapter 23. Book of Jasher. The book of Jasher, chapter 23, and verse 82. 23:82. Actually, going to 23 and 8. Actually, no, let's go a little further back. Yeah, 22:74. And 23:74. And Abraham sprinkled some of the blood of the ram upon the altar, and he exclaimed and said, "This is the place of my son, and may this be considered this day as the blood of my son before Yahuwah." And all that Abraham did on this occasion by the altar, he would exclaim and say, "This is the room of my son, and may it this day be considered before Yahuwah in the place of my son." And Abraham finished the whole service of the altar, and the service was accepted before Yahuwah, and was accounted as if it had been Yitzhak. And Yahuwah baraked Abraham and his seed on that day. And Satan went to Sarah. Right. And Satan went to Sarah and appeared to her in the figure of an old man. Right. So Satan can shapeshift. Satan can shapeshift into whomever he wants. He appeared in the figure of an old man, very humble and meek. Right. An old man, very humble old man and meek. So please don't be believing people when they're meek and lowly and they old man. Please don't be thinking. He said, if you serving Yahuwah, you need to be on guard. And guess what? And Abraham was yet engaged in the burnt offering before Yahuwah. And he said to her, "Dost thou know all that the work that Abraham has made with thine only son this day? For he took Yitzhak and built an altar and killed him and brought him up as a sacrifice upon the altar. And Yitzhak cried and wept before his father. But he looked not at him, neither did he have compassion over him." Right? So you look at all that. Look how Satan get in your heart and your mind. Just by his words. He wants to get in your thought process. He lies to you. That's what he just did. An old, meek, and humble man just lied to a woman about another man and his acts and what he just did. And he lied to him and said he didn't have no compassion or mercy, and made up a whole story to sway her emotions and her behavior towards someone else. And Satan repeated these words, and he did it twice. So that's how you know. Remember, we just talked about how they try to get how malicious words and things can get in your mind and control your thought process, and they can control your heart and your mind and make you do erratic things. And it's called witchcraft. And he did it twice. And Satan repeated the words, because you got to repeat it twice, that every word be established, because he meek and humbly and lowly by the word of Yahuwah, right? And he repeated the words and went away from her. And Sarah heard all the words of Satan, and she imagined him to be an old man from amongst the sons of men who had been with her son, and he came and had come and told her these things. So then she created a whole image and likeness in her thought process. And he took control of her whole mind. And he trapped her like a caged bird in her own mind. And guess what? And Sarah lifted up her voice and wept and cried out bitterly on the account of her son. And then she, based upon the lies, her emotions went erratic. And guess what? And she threw herself down upon the ground, and she cast dust upon her head, and she said, "Oh, my son, oh, that I had this day died instead of thee." Right? So she literally pronouncing curses on her own life, not even knowing that Satan just tricked her the whole time. He got her to say, "Oh, had I not died instead of you." And guess what? And she continued to weep and said, "It grieves me for thee, O my son." Right? "Oh, my son, Yitzhak, oh, that I had died this day in your stead." And she still continued to weep and said, "It grieves me for thee after I have reared thee and have brought thee up, Now my joy is turned into mourning. And we just read it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. But her mourning is all based upon a lie. But guess what? And I have a longing for thee, and cried and prayed to my Elohim, till I bear thee 99 years old. And now hast thou served this day for the knife and the fire, to be made an offering. But I console myself with thee, my son. It is being the word of Yahuwah, for thou didst perform the commandment of thy Elohim. For who can transgress the word of our Elohim? He said, why would you do that? In whose hands is the soul of every living creature. He said, why would you do that? Thou art just, O Yahuwah our Elohim, for all works are good and righteous. For I also am rejoiced with thy word, which thou didst command, and whilst mine eyes weepeth bitterly, my heart rejoices. And Sarah laid her head upon the bosom of one of her handmaids, and she became as a still stone. You know what Laban was like? Worthless fellow Nabal. She turned into a stone. And she afterward rose up and went about making inquiries till she came to Hebron. She was asking questions. And she inquired of all those whom she met, walking in the road. And no one could tell her what had happened to her son. And she came with her maid servants and men servants at Kibroth Arba, which is in Hebron, and she asked concerning her son. And she remained there while she sent some of her servants to seek where Abraham had gone with Yitzhak. They went to seek him in the house of Shem. They went to seek him in the house of Shem and Eber, and they could not find him. And they sought throughout the land, and he was not there. Right? So once she was looking for him, and she was looking for him, and she was weeping, and she was like a stone. And she ain't know where he was. And she was searching and weeping for him and looking for him. And she sought him, trying to figure out where he was. And Satan started this whole thing. You ever lost something? And then you be like, where is it? And you be like, I don't know where it's at. And you be searching and doing all these things. And guess what it says? And behold, Satan came to Sarah in the shape of an old man. He came again. And he came and stood before her and said to her, I spoke falsely unto thee. And then he started to admit. So please don't be thinking like Satan came and he was meek and humbly and lowly, and then took control of her mind and erratic behavior and her emotions. And then he came back and said, I lied to you. I spoke falsely to you. I say it's called manipulation. It's called manipulation. Purposely do something and say something and then take control and then manipulate. And guess what it says? And Sarah, and he says, behold, Satan came to Sarah in the shape of an old man, and he came and stood before her, and he said to her, I spoke falsely unto thee, for Abraham did not kill his son, and he is not dead. And when she heard the word, her joy was exceedingly violent on the account of her son, and her soul went out through joy. He said her soul went out through joy once she found out the son was alive, because she thought he was dead. It's just like the women went to the tomb. They thought Yahushua was dead. But then they said, he is not here. He is risen. The son is alive. And she was leaving for joy. And guess what happened? Violent on the account of her son. And her soul went out through joy. Right, so this is the book of Galatians. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5, in verse 22. But the fruit of the Ruach is ahab, because he loved their son too. Joy. Like she went out that way. Simchat, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Right, going back to Yeshayahu 28:86. When she heard the words of her joy, her joy was exceedingly violent on the account of her son, and her soul went out in joy, and she died and was gathered to her people. Just by Satan just saying some things in words and manipulating emotions and thoughts. Just lying. Lying and then telling the truth about what he did. And he killed her. But guess what? And when Abraham had finished his service, he returned with his son Yitzhak to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba, and they came home, and Abraham sought for Sarah, and he could not find her. She said, remember what did Sarah say? She said, I wish I had died instead of my son. That's what she said. And Abraham sought for Sarah and could not find her, and made inquiries concerning her, and said unto him, she was as far as Hebron to seek you both where you had gone. For thus was she informed. And Abraham and Yitzhak went to her to Hebron, and when they found that she was dead, they lifted up their voices and wept bitterly over her. The same thing, he says, better go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. Why? Because this is the end of all men. And get what he said. And Yitzhak fell upon his mother's face and wept over her. And he said, oh, my mother, how hast thou left me, and where hast thou gone? Oh, how hast thou left me? And Abraham and Yitzhak wept greatly, and all their servants wept with them on the account of Sarah, and they mourned over her a great and heavy mourning. Right? Going to verse 24. And the life of Sarah was 127 years, and Sarah died. And Abraham rose up before his dead to seek a burial place to bury his wife Sarah. And he went and spoke to the children of Ha and the inhabitants of the land, saying, I am a stranger and sojourner in your land. Give me a possession and a burial place in your land, that I may bury your dead. Bury my dead from before me. Right, so all that's important. But we're going to the book of Psalms. We almost finished. This is the book of Psalms. This is the book of Tasha'y. Book of Psalms, chapter 42. Psalm chapter 42 and verse 1. And it says, as a deer pants for the flowing stream, so my soul pants for you, O my Elohim. My soul thirsts for you, for the living Elohim. When shall I come and appear before my Elohim? My tears have been my food day and night. Right? That's why he said, better go to the house of mourning than a house of feasting. That's what Daniel's father did. That's what the king did for Daniel. That's what Abraham did. That's what everybody did. But he says, while they say to me all day long, where is your Elohim? These things I remember as I pour out my soul. How I would go to the throne and lead them in procession in the house of their Elohim, with glad shouts of joy and praise in the multitude of the festivals. Right? Going at verse 8. By day, Yahuwah commands his steadfast love, and at night his song is with me. A prayer to my Elohim, a prayer to the Elohim of my life. I say to Elohim, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go mourning? Because of the oppression of the enemy. Because he said, I say to my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go on mourning? Because of the oppression of my enemy? As with a deadly wound in my bones, my adversaries what? Taunt me. They taunt me. And what else they do? While they say to me all day long, where is your Elohim? All day long. Where are you cast down? Where are you, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? hope in Elohim, for I shall praise him. I shall again praise him, my salvation, my Elohim. Right? Right? That's all important. Right? All that's important. All of it. Right? So this is the book of Nazarene, Acts of the Shalakim. 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 Where we going? Chapter 41. Nazarene, Acts of the Shalakim, chapter 41 and verse 1. Going there. Nazarene, Acts of the Shalakim, 41. And Yahushua was going to Jericho, and he met there a man with a cage full of birds, which he had caught, and some young doves, right? Because a lot of people do that. He said they caught you in. You know, it's some sorcerers that can do that. They can take your consciousness mind and put it inside of a jar and hold it and use it and hold it around and walk around with it, and they got control of your mind, right? And it says right here, and he saw how they were in misery, having lost their liberty, right? Because you ain't got your freedom. Because you done trap me in with all your words and your slander, right? And your gossip and your all the things. And that's all the person thinking about. Like, why are they saying all these things about me? Right? And that's what they're thinking about. He said they got you in misery, and they were in misery, having lost their freedom, their liberty, and moreover being tormented with hunger and thirst. He's like, man, they ain't being tormented. You ain't giving me the things I need. You got me trapped in the cage, and you got me tormented inside of the prison. And guess what happens? And he said to the man, what will you do with these? That's what Yahushua said. What you gonna do? And get what he said. And the man answered, I go to make my living by selling these birds which I have taken. You know, he go exchange it with another person who like to trap cage birds. Yeah, I'm gonna send this bird over here, and you can trap him up where you at, and you can send the other bird. We just now never gonna let them out, right? That's what you can do. They can do that stuff. I'm gonna send them over there, and then you trap them in there, and then they can't never get free, right? And guess what happened? I go to make my living by selling these birds which I have taken. And Yahushua said, what would you think if another stronger than you, or with greater craft, because you gotta be crafty, right? You crafty Nakash. You Nakash. That's what you are. You're a Nakash. Were to catch you and bind you, your wife, and your children, and cast you into prison. Isn't that what they did to Daniel? Remember what Daniel did? What the men did? He had an excellent ruach in him. So we had to entrap him. We couldn't find nothing else on him, so we had to go with his Torah. And then we entrapped him in his words. And they trapped him in like a caged bird. He said, well, how would you like your wife and your children and your wife be cast into the lion's den? That's what people want. So you want, and people say, why Yahushua said this, right? He said, so you want your kids to be thrown in the lion's den? I'll throw your kids in the lion's den, right? And people say, why is this important? This is very important, right? Right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 6. Look at Matthew, chapter 6. We almost finished, right? We almost finished. Matthew. This thing not working either. All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 1. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 1. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 1. It says, beware of practicing your righteousness before others, that in order to be seen by them. Go to Luke chapter 6. Luke chapter 6 verse 1. Luke chapter 6 verse 1. Yes, I think that's it. Luke 6 and 30. 6 and... Yeah, let's go to 6 and 22. Luke 6 and 22. Barak are you when people hate you, and when they exclude you, and revile you, and spurn your name off as evil. And then what Daniel had to go through? On the account of the son of Adam. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy. For behold, your reward is great in Shabath. For so the fathers did to the Nabi'im. They did the same thing. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you shall be hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Because it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. Woe to you when all people speak well of you. For so their fathers did to the false Nabi'im, right? That's what happened. But I say to you who hear, Shema, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, barak those who curse you. Now you see why he tell you to barak. He said, if you curse, he's like, you might as well just barak. You know what it says? Pray for those who abuse you, right? But it says, to the one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other cheek also. For from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you. Right? And from the one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And if you, as you would wish that, as you would want that others would do to you, do so to them. Right? He said, do so to them. This is Nazarene, Gospel of Nazarenes, chapter 41, Truth of Nazarenes, chapter 41, verse 3. And Yahushua said to him, what you think if another stronger than you, or with greater craft, were to catch you and bind you and your wife and your children and cast you into prison, in order to sell you into captivity for his own profit and to make a living? That's what people do. They take all your hard-earned wages, your money, and take your time. Years go by, and then they steal all your stuff, and they keep you in a caged in, and guess what? Now it's gone. Verse 4 says, are not these your fellow creatures, only weaker than you? Because you got all your stuff. They just weaker than you. If you want to compare human beings to animals, right? Because you got all their riches. It says, and does not the same Creator care for us all? Let these little brethren go forth into freedom, liberty. He said, let them go. And see that you do this no more. Guess what people are going to do? But provide honestly for your living. The man marveled at these words. Why? And at his authority, and he let the birds go free. He said, let the birds go free. So when the birds came forth, they flew to Yahushua and stood on his shoulder and sang to him. They did what? They sang to him. Who you singing to? You singing to the captive who got you caged up like a bird. You making a song about it. But guess what he said? And the man inquired further of his doctrine, and he went his way and learned the craft of making baskets. And by this craft he earned his bread. And afterwards he broke his cages and his traps and became a disciple of Yahushua. And Yahushua beheld a man working on the Shabbat. And he said to him, man, if you know what you do, you are Barak. Right? For you break not the Turah in the Ruach, but you break not. He says, and Yahushua beheld a man working on the Shabbat. And he said to him, man, if you know what you do, you are Barak. For you break not the law in the Ruach, but if you know not, you are accursed and shall surely become a transgressor of the law. Right? So if you don't know it. And Yahushua said to his disciples, what shall be done to these servants who know, right? Who what? Who knowing their master's will prepare not themselves for his coming, neither do according to his will. Verily I say to you, they that know their master's will and did it not shall endure the greatest penalty. But they who, not knowing their master's will, do it not, shall endure the least. To whomsoever much is given, of them much is required. And to whom little is given, for them little is required. And there was a certain man who was blind from his birth, and he denied that there were such things as the sun, the Shamash, the Kukav, and the Yard, or that color existed. And they tried in vain to persuade him that other people saw them. And they led him to Yahusha, and he anointed the man's eyes and made him see. And he greatly rejoiced with great wonder and confessed before that he was blind. Why? Because once you don't even know about a Shamash, Cougar in the Yard, how you gonna believe what Yusuf said? Shall I, your mother, your brother bow down and worship you? If you blind, you can't see anything. But guess what happened? But you still believe that. And now, after this, he said, I see. All I know, everything. And I am like unto Yahuwah himself. He said, I know everything. You know how people say? I know everything. I have my eyes, I can see. You get what he said? And Yahusha again said to him, how can you know all? You cannot see through the walls of your house. Nor read the thoughts of your fellow men, nor understand the language of the birds or beasts. You cannot even recall the events of your former life, conception or birth. Remember with humility how much remains unknown to you. It's the same thing we just read in the Pockets of Adam. He said they're going to serve you with humility. But guess what happens? He says, remember with humility how much remains unknown to you, yea, unseen. In doing so, you may see more clearly. He said, so many things unknown, right? So going to the couple more things we've done. This is book of Ayub, Job, book of Job, Ayub, book of Job, 29 and 18. Job, Ayub, 29 and 18. Job, Ayub, 29 and 18. Then I thought, I shall die in my nest. I shall multiply my days as the sand. My roots spread out to the waters, with the dew all night on my branches. My kabod, my glory fresh with me, and my bow ever new in my hand. Men listened to me and waited and kept silence for my counsel. What did they do after that? And I spoke. They did not speak again. And my word dropped upon them. They waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouths as for the spring rain. I smiled on them when they had no confidence. In the light of my face, they did not cast down. I chose their way and sat as chief, and I lived like a king among his troops, like one who comforts mourners. He said, like one who comforts people who mourn. But going to chapter 30 and verse 1. But now they laugh at me. It's better go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. He said, I called for mourning, but you started feasting and laughing and jesting. But they laughed at me. Why they laughed at you? Men who are younger than I. He's like, even people younger than me, whose fathers I would have disdained to set with the dogs of my flock. He say, disdain to set with the dogs of my flock. Why? What could I gain from the strength of their hands? He said, I can't gain nothing from these people. Men whose vigor is gone. Through want and hard hunger, they gnaw and dry ground by night and waste and desolation. Right? They pick salworth, and the leaves of bushes, and the roots of broom trees for their food. They are driven out from human company. They shout after them as after a thief. In the gullies of torments they must dwell, in the holes of the earth and of the rocks. Why? He said, rocks fall on us and hide them from him who sits on the face of the throne. But it said also, he said, all you these strong men, he said, those who have those living on them rocks and in the caves and the rocks, he said, I'm going to hurl you down too. Right? Verse 7 says, among the bushes they bray, until the nettles they huddle together. A senseless and nameless brood, they have been whipped out of the land. Right? Verse 9 says, and now I have become their song. They make songs about it. They laugh and they joke, and they make songs and start to laugh and mock, and they make songs about it, and they laugh and mock while they sit in the back making songs and laughing. He says, I am a byword to them. He said, I'm a byword to them. He said, I called for mourning, but you all started laughing. They abhor me. They keep aloof from me. They stay far away. They ain't going to look at you face to face and laugh in your face. They'll laugh and joke and make a song, though. They do not hesitate to spit at the sight of me. That's what they did to Yahushua. They spit in his face. Who you think you're doing it to? Because Elohim has loosed my cord and humbled me. That's the only reason. Because Yahuwah humbled me, so they laughing and mocking, and they spit in your face. And they make songs about you while they laugh. And he said, I called for mourning. But you laughing. They have cast off restraint in my presence. On my right hand, the rabble rise. What I think the thief, right? And they push away my feet. They cast up against me their way of destruction, right? So going to, he said, right. He said, why? Why he do all that? Why he do all that, right? So this is the book of why he do all that? Because it's important. Right, this is the book of Psalms chapter 32 and verse 1. Tahalim, Psalm chapter 32. Psalms 32 and 1. Psalm 32 and 1. Barak is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Barak is the man against whom Yahuwah counts no iniquity, and whose ruach there is no deceit. Right? He said there is deceit in their tongue. Right? But it says, for when I kept silent, my bones wasted away, though my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the summer heat. I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgression to Yahuwah, and you forgave my iniquity and my sin. Right? Therefore, let everyone who is Chesed, kind, or godly, offer prayer to you at a time that you may be found. He said, that's why the book, Apocalypse of Adam, he said, he's going to destroy the earth with a flood. Why? Because of the things they seek after. But he said, seek Yahuwah while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Surely in the rush of the great waters, and that what happened during the Apocalypse of Adam, they shall not reach him. Why do you think Noach was in the ark? You are a hiding place for me. Why do you think they was in the ark? You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with shouts of deliverance. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. That's what he said. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. He said, I'm looking at you. Be not like a horse or a mule. He said, we put bits in the mouth of a horse and mules, and we steer the whole thing. We make them turn. Be not like a horse and a mule, or a mule, without understanding. He said, don't do that. which must be curbed with bits and bridle, or it will not stay near you. He said, don't you be like no horse. Are you a horse? Verse 10, many are the sorrows of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds the one who trusts in Yahuwah. Be glad in Yahuwah and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. Even though Satan lied to Sarah, when she found out the son was still alive, she died in joy. She died in joy. So it don't matter. He said, even if Satan lied to you, as long as you remember the son alive, though. Even though he may manipulate your emotions and cause you to have erratic mindsets and behaviors, and he may trick you, and you're going to feel bad. And you're going to be searching, and you're going to be trying to find your way back. And even if he try to tell you the truth, he said, man, you know what, the son, all you got to do is remember the son is still alive. And you can go out of here and enjoy. Because the only reason he's doing all that, what's the reason Satan coming to you? To kill you. But the only thing you need to do is to remember the son is still alive, though. He's not, he risen. He alive, and that's all you got to remember. And guess what? Death is swallowed up in victory. Because Satan, oh death, where's your sting? Oh death, where's your victory at? Let's go there. Right, so going to the book of 1 Corinthians. You say, why you gotta do that? That's what people do, right? Going to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 54. 1 Corinthians 15:53. For the perishable body must put on imperishable. That's what everybody's gonna do after you die. After you leave here, you're gonna put on an imperishable body. And we shall be changed. For the perishable body must put on the imperishable, and the mortal must put on immortality. You gotta change yourself. You're gonna change. You're gonna put on the imperishable immortality after you leave here. You know what it says? And when the perishable puts on imperishable, and the mortal put on immortality, then shall come to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your victory? Where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? The sting of death is sin. And the power of sin is the law. But thanks be to Elohim who gives us the victory through Yahushua Mashiach. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast and immovable. Immovable. Always abounding in the work of Yahuwah. He said you got to keep abounding more and more and more and more. Knowing that your labor is not in vain. He said you should know that. He said you should know that. You should know that. Right, so this is the book of, you should know that. We should know that. We should know that. Right, so this is the book of Proverbs chapter 80. Proverbs chapter 80 and verse 4. Proverbs, mostly chapter 80 and verse 4. O Yahuwah of hosts, how long will you be angry with your people's prayers? You have fed them with the bread of tears. Oh man, it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. I call for mourning, but everybody around here feasting, right? And you get what he said? They're laughing. He said, "Why you?" But they laughed at me. You get what he said? You have fed them with the bread of tears, and given them tears to drink in full measure. You make us an object of contention for our neighbors, and our enemies laugh among themselves. That's all they do. They laugh among themselves. You know why they do that? Because they don't know their end. That's why their countenance won't be made glad properly, because they're already laughing. They're already laughing. Their heart ain't gonna be made better than what it is. They're already laughing. So Yahuwah says, I have to make you go to mourning first, and then I bring you back to gladness. So therefore, it'll be a lot more better than it was while you're laughing at people. And I'm calling for something totally different. Because I'm giving you bread of tears and drinks of tears in full measure. And guess what he says? Restore us, O Elohim of hosts, and let your face shine that we may be saved. Because after rain, I'm giving you bread of tears, and I'm giving you water of tears and drinks of tears. Then he's saying, be our son. You gave us rain with your tears and all these tears of mourning. Be our son. Be our Shamash. Why do you think that blind man was like, he ain't know nothing about no Shamash, no Yarek, and no Kukai. He like, I don't even know nothing about this stuff. I ain't never seen it. Then he got arrogant after he could see. I could see everything. He's like, where's your humility at? You get what it says? Restore us, O Elohim host. Let your face shine that we may be saved. You brought a vine out of Mizraim. He said, I think you said, I'm the vine, you the branches. You drove out the nations and planted it. That's what happens when you get a vine. You got to plant it. And guess what happened? You cleared the ground for it. That's what you got to do. He said, when you do this, then this verse becomes, when you go outside and you actually do this, before the spring, this day, Psalms chapter 80, verse 9 is fulfilled in your ears. You fulfill the Torah. And get what it says, and you cleared the ground for it. It took deep roots and filled the land. The mountains were covered with its shade, and the mighty cedars with its branches. It sent out its branches to the sea, and its shoots to the river. Why have you broken down its walls? He said, why you did it? So that all who pass along the way pluck its fruit. The boars from the forest ravage it, and all that move in the field feed on it. Turn again, O Elohim host, look down from Shamayim and see. Have regard for this vine, the stock of your right hand planted, and for the son whom you made strong for yourself. Guess what happened? Verse 16. They have burned it with fire. What burns the vine with fire? The tongue. Because it burns the whole course of life. That's what the vine was for us. It's for life, for the branches, that we may bear fruit. But guess what? The tongue is a fire. No man can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil. They have burned it with fire. They have cut it down. May they perish. May they perish at the rebuke of your face. And he said, now I rebuke you to God. What's his face like? Man, Yahuwah is like the sun, and his rays has touched me. He said, now I rebuke you. But let your hand be on the man of your right hand. He said, but let the man be on the hand of your right, on your right hand. The son whom you have made strong for yourself. Why do you think Yahushua said, I'm the vine, you are the branches? He said, you can talk all that you want, but I assure you, at the rebuke of his face, he said, I assure you, right? But it says, then we shall turn back from you. Give us life that we may call on your name. Restore, O Yahuwah of hosts, let your face shine, that we may be saved. He said, how you gonna understand this? He said, let your face shine that we shall be saved. This is the book of Yuchanan. He said, why? People have no idea. Right, so this is the book of Yuchanan. Yuchanan chapter 14 and verse 8. Yochanan chapter 14, verse 8. Yochanan chapter 14, verse 8. Philip said to him, Yahuwah, show us the Father. It is enough for us. Yahushua said to him, have I been with you so long, and you do not know me, Philip? He like, you don't know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. He said, let your face shine upon us, that we may be saved. He said, he that has seen me has seen the Father. That's why Yahushua said, search the scriptures. In them you think you got eternal life. Is speaking about, you know they say, Mu'ah. Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? Why do you think Yahushua saying this? The word that I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me, in the innermost parts of myself, with the cherubim with the two cherubim with the wings touching the wall above the mercy seat, where the Ark of the Covenant, Aaron's rod that budded, and the 10 Commandments are, and all these things that they put inside, it's inside of him. He says, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. He said, I ain't doing nothing. He said, why callest thou me good? There's only one that good, and he inside of me. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. He said, man, please. He said, believe that. Believe Abba in me and I'm in the Abba, right? And he says, or else believe on the account of the works themselves. He said, I ain't got to do nothing. Truly, truly, I say to you, whosoever believes in me will also do the works that I do. What you doing? I guess you don't believe that in the most parts of yourself that they have all these things inside. In the most inner parts with the four corners, where he put it at. With the mercy seat. He says, and greater works than these will he do. And when you try to do greater works, you already know coming. They're going to try to find something against you in Torah and the law. They're going to try to make you look like you're a fool. And guess what? Because I am going to the Father, Abba. Whatever you ask in my name, this I will do, that the Father may be abode in the Son. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it. Why? Because that's important. All right, this is the Odes of Solomon. Ode Shalom. Pseudepigrapha. Odes of Solomon. Ode Shalom, Odes of Solomon. Yeah, this is going nuts. Gotta get there. Ode Shalom, Odes of Solomon. Chapter 23 and verse 1. Joy is for the Qahalath ones. Right? He said, joy is for the Qahalath ones. And who will put it on but they alone? He said, the only people that can do that is you. He said, who else gonna put it on? Get what he said? Khan is for the elect ones. And who will receive it but they who trusted in it from the beginning? Grace, Khan. Love is for the elect ones. And who will put it on but they who possessed it from the beginning? Walk in the knowledge of Yahuwah, and you will know the Khan of Yahuwah generously, both for his exaltation and for the perfection of his knowledge. Why do you think Daniel say, he said, man, he went back, he just prayed again, even after they passed the decree. Get what it says. And in his thought was like a letter, and his will descended from on high, and it was sent from the bow like an arrow that has been forcibly shot. And many hands rushed to the letter in order to catch it and take it and read it. But it escaped from their fingers, and they were afraid of it and of the seal which was upon it. Right, all that's important. We're going to Ode Shalom. Odes of Solomon. Ode Shalom 15 and 1. As the sun is the joy of them who seek it at daybreak. He said, Yahushua said, he that has seen me has seen the Father. He said, you will shine. Let your face shine upon me. Let the Father's face shine upon us that we may be saved. And he said, have you not understood? He that has seen me has seen the Father. As the sun is my joy, so them who seeks it at daybreak. So it is my joy, Yahuwah. Because he is my son, and his rays have restored me, and his light has diminished all darkness from my face. He said, let your face shine upon me. Eyes I have possessed in him, and have seen his Chdsh. Ears I have acquired, and I have heard his truth. On this Chdsh. Why? Because that's what you're supposed to do. But guess what he said? The thought of knowledge I have acquired, and I have lived fully through him. I abandoned the way of error, because that's what the darkness of errors is. It's ignorance. And went toward him and received salvation from him generously. That's what happens to him. And according to his generosity, he gave to me. And according to his majestic beauty, he made me. He said, how he made you. Right, this is the Psalms 139, Tasha'y 139. Psalms 139. Psalms 139 and 7. Tasha'y 139 and 7. Where shall I go from your ruach? Or where shall I flee from your presence? He said, where are you going to go? If I ascend to Shamayim, you are there. He said, Yahuwah in Rakia. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. Ain't that something he told you? Who should? Don't you be like the beings in the Rakia? He said, you make your bed in Sheol, you were like, I'm watching you, son. I see you. You went down to the earth, and I told you not to be like the beings in the Rakia, in the Sheol, and I'm watching you. If I take up my wings in the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me. He said, his yard gonna find you. And your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night. Even darkness is not dark to you, and the night is bright as the day. He said, man, let your face shine upon me. Father, let your face shine. We may see your salvation. They were laughing at me. They started laughing. I called for mourning. I gave them tears, bread of tears and bread of drink. But they all laughed. I say, surely darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night. Even darkness is not dark to you. Right? You got dark clothes on. He's like, man, this ain't dark. You be like, man, it's dark. Boy, you see straight through my clothes. Right? He says, the night is bright as the day, and darkness is light with you. For you formed my inward parts. He said, man, you did it. He said, you formed all my minerals. You formed my kidneys, my liver, my spine, my spleen, my heart, my deoxygenated, my nostrils. You formed my gurgles, my throat. You formed my larynx and my ear. You formed my inward parts and my bones. You formed my intestines, like they say, and all these things that we have on the inside. For you formed my inward parts, and you knitted me together in my mother's womb. He said, you did that. He said, you knitted me together inside of my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. He said, man, he made me. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. He's like, my nefesh know it very well, because you knitted that thing inside of me. You formed it, man. He said, who know Yahuwah very well? The inward part, the inward man. He know Yahuwah very well. That's why Yahushua said, my Father does the work, and he in me. He know you very well. You just don't know it. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written every one of them, the day that were formed for me, when as yet there was none among them. Right? Verse 17. How precious to me are your thoughts, O Elohim. How vast is the sum of them. Now you see why Yahushua went to the man. He had in Nazarene, he got truth in Nazarene. He opened his eyes and he said, I can see everything. I know everything. He said, how does it say you know everything? How you gonna say that? That's what happens when we first get our eyes open. We be like, man, I know everything. That's what we do. People say, we do that. He be like, man, I know everything, boy, look at that. We should like, you don't know nothing. Only thing you know is only thing you know, you don't understand. You don't know everything. You don't know everything. Right? That's what we do. How vast is the sum of them? If I would count them, they are more than the sand. He's like, man, you don't know nothing. My eyes is open. I don't know nothing about the Shamash Kubi in the yard. Now I can see. I know everything. No, you don't. I awake and I am still with you. Right? Because you know why you still with him? Because you ain't like no horse with no bittle and bits in your mouth. The kibbles and bits. You want to feed you like a dog. Give you kibbles and bits. And guess what? You ain't got no kibbles and bits. That's why you still with. That's why he said, I awake and I am still with you. Why? Because you ain't got to be putting no kibbles and no bits in the horse's mouth. He said, don't even be like that. That's why you still around him. That's why you still there. You don't need no bits in the mouth to try to curb your mouth and make you turn like a horse. Maybe you turn to Mr. Ed. Right? No. Oh, that you would slay the wicked, O Elohim, O men of blood, depart from me. They speak against you in the malicious intent. Your enemies take your name in vain. Do I not hate those who hate you, Yahuwah? Do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with a complete hatred. I count them, he say, my enemies. He said, search me, O Elohim, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. And see if there be any grievous way in me. Right, because if you could see it, you will see any grievous way in me and show me. Because I don't want it in me. And lead me in the way everlasting. I don't want it in me. I want to know it. So I can get rid of it. So I can have peace with you. So you can lead me. I know when people doing things to me. And I know to trust in you, right? That's what you need. It's Odes of Solomon, ODE 15, in verse 3. Eyes I have possessed in him, and I have seen the Qahalath. Ears I have acquired and have heard his truth. The thought of knowledge I have acquired, and I have lived fully through him. I abandoned the way of error, ignorance, and I went toward him and received salvation from him generously. And according to his generosity, he gave to me. And according to his majestic beauty, he made me, because he's fearfully and wonderfully made. He made you according to his majestic beauty. Like his Tikfarot. I have put on incorruption through his name. That's what we just talked about. The only way you can put on incorruption is through Yahushua's name. Through Yahuwah's name, right? And stripped off corruption by his kind. That's the higher nature. Incorruption is the higher nature. Corruption is the lower nature. That's your flesh. Incorruption is the Ruach. That's the higher nature. That's the higher mind. That's the higher thoughts. That's higher etheric. Higher etheric thoughts. Those are the things that can understand all things in the actual nefesh. And the nefesh knows you very well, Yahuwah. Very, very well. And you go through your inward man, innermost parts, you find out about everything in the whole earth. If you want a little bit that he will tell you, because it ain't really in the sum of his thoughts. And then he'll give you more understanding and expand your mind. And you'll be, right? That's what happens. And I will put, it says, death has been destroyed before my face. Oh, death, where have your sting? Oh, death, where's your victory? But guess how it's destroyed? Death has been destroyed before my face, and Sheol has vanquished by my word. O death, where's your sting? O death, where's your victory? And eternal life has arisen in Yahuwah's land, and it has become known to his faithful ones, and has been given without limit to all those who trust. He say in him. Right? When you trust in him, nobody gonna change your mind. Sirach 3:17-23. My son and daughter, go on thy business in Aydah, meekness, and thou shalt be beloved, so shalt thou be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high places and of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the Aydah. For the power of Yahuwah is great, and honor with the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. Right? Because he made a son that's strong for himself. He said, I can do all things through him that strengthens me. But if you ain't in the son that he made strong for himself, I assure you, you're seeking after things above your strength. And it will overpower you. That's why to be in him, to be connected to him, is strength itself. Because he said, I'm the vine, you the branches, you can do nothing without me. Verse 22, but what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, right? Because Satan out here shape-shifting, faking meek and lowly, giving you lies, and creating things, try to make your emotions erratic. It's take control of your mind and trap you in like a caged bird and won't let you go free. That's what Satan doing. Right? But at the same time, but what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things are in secret. He says it's not needful. Be not curious in necessary matters. It's all worthless. For more things are showed unto thee than men and women and children understand. Because he said, Dawid said, I have more understanding than all my teachers. He said, for I meditate on you at the bar. That's why Yahushua came to Nicodemus saying, shall a man be born into his mother's womb again? Yahushua like, you a teacher in Yahshua, you don't know this? You know, people say, you a teacher, and you don't even know your alphabet. You be like, you a teacher? Shall a man be born in his mother's womb? Go into his mother's womb again, be born again? Huh? What's it? He say, how do you know that? What's the ninth letter of the alphabet? T, mud, clay. That's actually this month, ninth month. Male and female. Shall a man be born in his mother's womb to be born again? When after 9 months, what month is that? 10th month. You got to get to the yard. You got to get to 10. He said, man, I come out the womb 10 years old. You were like, goodness. He's like, man, you 10 already. He's like, man, I'm already 10. People say, why Yahushua came out the womb like that? People say, man, Yahushua came out the womb powerful. He already 10 years old. Right? He was already grown. He was grown when he came out. That's why he was 12 years old asking questions in the temple. They were like, what kind of child is this? He's like, man, I know all the Torah. What you going to teach? Teach something. Right? That's how it is. He said, I know all the Torah. But at the same time, we look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at the light of life. We look at the true light, which lights every man that comes to Torah, right? And understanding that in the beginning, Yahuwah made the Shamanis in the earth. And he said, Ruach Marakaf al Panim, and moved upon the face of the waters. And he said, let there be ore and light inside of man, because that's where Yahuwah dwells, inside of you. And when he's inside of you, he said, I'm not doing the works, but the Father that's in me, Abba that's in me doing the works. For all things are work together for the good of them who are called according to his purpose. And his purpose is that man, is the will of man, a whole duty of man, to keep Yahuwah's commandments and to fear him. But the fear of Yahuwah is not to break his commandments. The fear of Yahuwah is not to slander, not to gossip, not to use witchcraft and sorcery to control people's mind, not to alter the course of somebody's life with your tongue and set everything ablaze and allow a person to be altered. Not being courteous and kind and understanding that if you do alter a person's mind, you literally take control of their mind and you have them in erratic behavior in themselves because of your words and the things that you say. When you can perceive that when men trying to trap you, just like an animal trying to be trapped, You see people trying to trap you up in their words, but you understand it why they're trying to do it. It's only to trap you in and to control you. Knowing that to control somebody, especially in this life, he said you must try to hook a fish that you can't catch. It's just like anything in the world, right? Ain't no way you can catch a whale. You try to catch a whale, and they'll swallow you up, right? Especially when you're not doing what you're supposed to do, right? You can't put a hook in the whale mouth, right? But you can put a hook in the little fish. But a big whale, he said, you're gonna need a harpoon, and most likely you shoot it with a harpoon, you're gonna find you who are gonna come at you with a harpoon, right? The very same thing. So we look at ourselves, we look at our inward man, we look at our inward being, we look at our inward thoughts, and we know that when Yahushua comes, we shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, right? This is the book of Ezekiel. This part of Ezekiel chapter 2. Ezekiel chapter 2, Yakaziel chapter 2, verse 1. So I opened my mouth, and he gave me the scrolls to eat. And he said to me, son of Adam, feed on your belly with this scroll that I give you, and fill your stomach with it. Why? You know why you need to fill your stomach? Because you got a child on the inside. Just like Yakaziel works with Yirmiyahu, he says, why is everybody got a hand on their stomach like they pregnant with a child? He say, fill your stomach with it that I ate. Then I ate, and it was in my mouth as sweet as honey. He like, what? He say, my son, eat the honey. People say, what? And then he said to me, son of Adam, go to the house of Yasharal and speak with my words to them. For you are not sent to a people of a foreign speech or a hard language, but to the house of Yasharal, not too many peoples of foreign speech and of a hard language, whose words you cannot understand. Surely, if I sent you to such, they will listen to you. The house of Yasharal will not be willing to listen to you, for they are not willing to listen to me. Because all the house of Yasharal have a hard forehead and a stubborn heart. Behold, I will make your face as hard as their faces, and your forehead as hard as their forehead. Like an emery harder than a flint have I made your forehead. Fear them not, nor be dismayed at their looks, for they are a rebellious house. Moreover, he said to me, son of Adam, all my words that I shall speak to you receive in your heart, and hear with your ears. Right? Right, this is the book of Proverbs. I'm going to start. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 1. Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 5. Take away the wicked from the presence of the king, and his throne will be established in righteousness. Do not put yourself forward in the king's presence, or stand in the place of the great. For it is better to be told, come up here, than to be put lower in the presence of the nobles. What your eyes have seen, do not hastily bring into the court. For what will you do in the end when your neighbor puts you to shame? Argue your case with your neighbor himself, and do not reveal another's secrets, because it's not needful for one to see with our eyes the things that are done in secret. Lest he who hears you bring you to shame, bring shame upon you, and your ill repute have no end. Because it's not needful for you to see with thine eyes the things that are done in secret. Verse 11 says, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in the setting of silver. Like gold, a gold ring or an ornament of gold is a wise reprover to a listening ear. Like the cold of snow in the time of harvest is a faithful messenger to those who sent him. He refreshes the soul of his masters, like clouds and wind without rain. Is a man who boasts of a gift that he does not give. Or if you look at Yahuwah Elohim, when he sent his son, for unto us, when Yahuwah said, for Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only son, and he nabbled about his son coming. And he boasted about it too, through all the Nabi'im. And he gave his son too, as a gift. Why boast about a gift that you don't give? And Yahuwah gave it. He gave that gift. But you know what people, you know what some people do when you get a gift? They throw that gift away. I don't want it. But in actuality, that gift that you need is eternal life after this life. So we look at ourselves, we look at our inward man, we look at our inward being. We look at the love that Yahushua Mashiach extended to us. And it's through him that we live and have our being and have life and eternal life in the next life. For it's through his love and his iron, his eyes, that we can see. We can see. And we can see when he opens our eyes. We can see his face. And his face can shine upon us. And he said, he that has seen me has seen the Father. He said, Barak is he who have not seen but still believe. That he that has seen Yahushua has seen the Father himself. And when you see him again, you're going to be seeing the Father as well. So everything that we do and everything that we say and everything that we enjoy in this life is only temporary. But he said, rejoice and be in simcha, knowing that we should walk in light, in the aura, the frequency of the light from the beginning. Through Yahushua Mashiach we live, through Yahushua Mashiach we walk, through Yahushua Mashiach we forgive, and through Yahushua Mashiach we pray. That's the only way you're going to reach the Father. And the Father will hear you, unless you acknowledge his Son. For he that honors the Father honors the Son. He that honors the Son honors the Father. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The Anu, the meek, shall inherit, the humble shall inherit the earth.